Welcome back. Secretary to the Cabinet, Dr. George Simataa, led a delegation of executive directors from government offices, ministries and agencies on a familiarisation visit to the Hyphen Green Hydrogen project site in Tsau Khaeb National Park and Angra Point, Kharas Region. This initiative aims to explore sustainable energy solutions and, of course, enhance governmental understanding of green hydrogen's potential impact on Namibia's economy and environment. Dr. Simataa now joins us this evening in our studio to elaborate on this excursion. Doctor, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you for bringing me in.
Thank you so much for being here. Just as a starting point, Doctor, speak to us about what motivated this visit to the Hyphen Green Hydrogen project sites.
Well, the purpose was twofold. First, as you know, we have what we call the Public Enterprise Communications Officers Award every year. For the past 3 years, we've held that. We have wanted to motivate our public communication officers in public service so that they tell the world out there what government does. We believe that if you don't tell your story, nobody will tell your story. So we're trying to motivate our public communication officers to do best by telling people there what government is doing, because we have realized that very often our information does not get there.
Right.
So we have an award system that we've introduced 3 years back, where we make them compete and the best gets rewarded. We saw the best reward, people rewarded last year, and this year we also had the same one. We realized that there is one person that got the same rewards last year in the category of officers, ministries and agencies, and repeated to get the overall winner. So we realized that if we motivate them like that, they will be able to give the information to the people. They will not be shy to come to television. I personally spoke to them and said, television is not a bad thing. Go out there and tell our story. So this visit was twofold. After we've done that on Friday evening, we then thought we should not come to Ludwig's and not do anything more. We know there is a green hydrogen project that is running up there. We thought we should get as much information as possible. As you know, the executive directors are the engine rooms and the implementation agents of government. We know that when green hydrogen project is ongoing, there will be many interactions that are needed between the project implementer and the government. And the people that should be spoken to at government level are the EDs. As you know, it says all communication to ministries should be dealt with the executive directors. So that was the main reason, for us to be familiar with the projects, to know what is in there for us, what are the advantages of the projects. If there are disadvantages, let's learn about them. What are the risk factors, and all associated discussions that were held between us. We also went to the project sites to understand why this site, not the other site.
Right.
So these type of things were just more an eye-opener for us to know, instead of not of just being told, but at least we see what is happening.
100%.
Yes.
So what insights did you gain from visiting, these sites?
We were briefed and we realized it has the potential. If you look at the whole green hydrogen project, it has the potential of bringing serious socio-economic developments to the town of Ludwig and to Namibia as such. First, in the form of employment, particularly to the youth. Second, in the form of skills development for the youth, particularly the ones that are in VTCs. Third, the issue of the expansion of Ludwig itself, which is a small place now.
Right.
We understand it's about 15,000 to 20,000, no, maybe 10 to 15,000 people in Ludwig. With all these things that are going to happen, we see a population boom going there. So there's a need to increase the sewerage system of Ludwig. There's a need to do the housing. There's a need to increase also the boundaries of the town to go into the park. And going into the park, it's legal issues because the parks are procured and they're legislated. So there are things that can only be solved by government. And if EDs are not familiar with the situation, it becomes difficult to solve these issues.
Right.
So we really think it's a big project where we should all work together. And particularly at ED level, we should be of assistance. Yeah. There will be issues of permits that will be needed to work in the park. There will be permits needed maybe for water drilling. There will be permits needed maybe for people coming into the country. Several permitting issues would be needed by the contractor who will be on site. So it's our job as permanent secretaries, as executive directors, to facilitate this if the project has to realize its full potential. Yes.
You mentioned earlier how, the visit to the sites was to understand the advantages and disadvantages that, the Green Hydrogen Initiative would bring to this area. And of course, you highlighted the benefits, which of course an advantage, socioeconomic benefits, it will create employment, etc. As much as there's, many pluses to these initiatives, there's also the downside and some of the challenges. So what were some of the challenges that were highlighted? And perhaps also you can talk to us about, the environmental considerations in bringing these projects to life.
Maybe let's start with the environmental consideration. As you know, Namibia, in the constitution, we respect the environment as much as possible. I think even in the discussions when they're making presentation to us, they were utmost conscious of the fact that Namibia is an environmentally conscious country, and that is protected by the constitution. That's a matter that will be carefully discussed and navigated through. There are risk areas, as you say, as we know that 42% of Namibia is protected area, and the rest is what can be used. And the rest of that protected area is on the coast of where the whole project would need to be. So these are serious risks that can also come in. They are also going to be in the Namibia Kloof, in the Spjordgebied area, which is a diamond concession area. There are people who have interest in those areas. There is also expansions on the areas going to Shark Island, and we know the history of Shark Islands. So these are delicate risk areas that needs to be discussed and negotiated on carefully. So the risk factors could be more on environmental factors, on financial factors, and also on our cultural diversity, as we know that they would like to do the expansion of the port, and the expansion of the port would mean also going into the Shark Island. And we know the discussions that are around the Shark Island. So, yes, in addition to financials, you could run into risks if the matter is not settled properly, particularly with the local community.
You mentioned this, you touched on it just briefly earlier in one of your responses, but just reiterate a bit more elaborately on the role that you envision of government agencies playing in supporting the development of, the green hydrogen sector.
Look, when green hydrogen is up and running, they would need road infrastructure, for example, to go into the parks. There are roads there. But to get those roads infrastructure done, even if they have money, those contractors, they will need permits to get into the park and to be authorized to construct such roads. For example, they would also need some type of licenses from the Ministry of Mines and Energy. I understand they are going to bring a lot of huge turbines. They were telling us that one of the longest one would be 120 meters when planted, and the wind things that propels would be about 60 meters. So these things will be carried from Walvis Bay port to Lüderitz in abnormal trucks. Going into a highway from Walvis Bay to Windhoek to Lüderitz, it's, an abnormal truck will require assistance of government. Right. These are abnormal trucks. They need special permits to be traveling in that manner, special escorts, the police, the army, and everybody involved. So the role of government it's big, and that is why the issues also of health, the ED of health was there, the ED of labor was there, yes. Issues of minimum wages, issues of health and safety standards. These are important issues that can only be cleared by government and can only be dealt with by executive directors. So these are the issues that we could be involved in the future. Yeah.
I was going to end up our discussion on the awards, the Public Entities Communications Awards, but you preempted that at the beginning. And you mentioned, of course, that you do this every year to encourage the communication officers within the different government ministries. And you said that, of course, they're given prizes. So just out of interest's sake, what prizes do they receive for their hard work?
Yeah, it's not very big money. Government is a service sector. We don't make big money.
Yeah.
That is why in the private sector, they would already have paid them big money. But we don't have that capacity to pay big money. But we give them prizes which we think will incentivize them to work much better.
Right.
The minimum prize was $5,000. It went to 10 to 15. The highest was, I think, 15. But because the guy who scooped the best out of the whole Omas was also the overall winner, he scooped a $25,000.
Right.
That's a lot of money for him and his family.
Yeah.
So we think it's an encouragement that many of them will look forward to get that $25,000 next year or the $15,000. So during this year, they will win. They will also participate more. They will not be shy to come to you when you invite them for TV. They will talk about government programs freely without any hesitation.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Dr. Simataa, your final remarks this evening?
Maybe just to encourage, I'm talking more to public relations officers in government that please talk more about our business of government. Don't be shy to ask for space here at TV or at radio to say, I have a program to run. I have something to tell the Namibians on what we are doing best as government, and they will do so. And secondly, to talk about that I see the Green Hydrogen project as a good project. And I think I was saying to the people there on Saturday, that if what we are being told and we hear is all what is going to happen, we would be like a Europe in Africa, Namibia, in 10 to 15 years to come.
Indeed so. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much indeed.
That was Dr. George Simataa speaking to us there. When we come back, we continue with conversations here on the Daily Roundup, so stay with us.